Alrighty.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to try my first online version of your class for today. All of my guys in MD&S, if you're following this at home, you can go to the classroom, get on the 6.3 section. In my Google Slides, it's 56 to 64. If you don't have your folders and don't have your note packets, check the Google Classroom. I sent out a new copy of your notes that you can fill in online. You can do it right from your iPad. I would love to run a quiz and your tests next week over the iPads so that we're not getting too far away from the stuff that we've been doing. If these days don't seem to work, we can always renegotiate on that. Your normal question would have been, what is speciation? Speciation is new species evolving from old species. So I am going to send out your homework here later today. You're going to read 188 to 194 and do the Google Sheet for that section. As we're going through here, I'm not going to play the videos for you. You guys can play the videos at home. Literally, click on your computer at home, run the video with each section. That way you guys aren't missing the little things, and I can keep my video content as short as possible. We've already talked about theories of evolution, we talked about ideas of evolution, we talked about history of the earth and how things have come about. Let's talk a little bit about some of the evidence that we have for natural selection and evolution. The reason that Lamarck, who started the theory of evolution, was not widely accepted is he didn't have any evidence for it. Darwin, on the other hand, had lots and lots of fossil evidence that he collected the whole way around the world on his trip on the Beagle. So we call this a theory. In science, there's different levels to a theory. So you have a hypothesis, which is what you think is the answer. You run your experiment. If your experiment proves your hypothesis enough times, it can become a theory. If a theory has so much proof that you cannot debate it anymore, it can become a scientific law. Like you've probably heard of the law of gravity or the law of motion. Darwin's statement is just considered a theory with lots and lots and lots of support. So natural selection can't be proven because it is just a theory. The only way to prove truly that natural selection occurs is to go back in time 1,000,000 years and watch it as it comes forward. The best evidence of evolution comes from the fossils. Now, we looked at fossils in the class the other day. Fossils give you a look at ancestors of organisms that were on Earth. On this picture, the best fossil record of any organism we have is from an organism called the Eohippus. Eohippus is the earliest descendant of the horse that we can find. It was very, very little. It had toes. It had spots. It had a much smaller jaw. It was about the size of a dog. Over time, Eohippus's 3 toes actually evolve into smaller toes, into a hoof, and eventually the modern horse, which is what you see today, has a really long jaw, much, much bigger, and it is the direct descendant of this Eohippus right there. So Eohippus is what we consider an ancestor of the modern day horse. There's lots of organisms that we are curious about whether or not they're ancestors of humans, but nobody really knows the correct path line for that. If you watch this video, these are pictures of the Eohippus. It'll explain how the Eohippus evolved over time into the modern day horse. You can do that on your own. All right, some other types of biological evidence. So biological are going to be physical structures in biology. The first one is called a vestigial organ, or what we call a vestigial structure. Vestigial means that it is reduced and unused. Best case example, I have lots of students over the years who have had their appendix taken out. Your appendix is a little tiny piece that sticks off the side of your colon. In dogs and wild animals, the appendix actually fights off bacterial infection. In humans, it does absolutely nothing except sometimes it can explode and kill you. So if you know of somebody that had their appendix taken out, they actually cut it out, it does nothing, and except for make you sick. Examples. If you have a pet snake and you x-ray the snake, you can see where snakes evolved from lizard-like creatures that actually had 4 legs at one time. The legs are reduced and unused. Other examples of vestigial structures, whales used to have legs because whales used to walk on land and moved back into the water somewhere a long time ago. As they were in the water, their hind legs actually became useless, and they actually became vestigial. If you would x-ray the hind end of a whale, back where those tail flippers are at, you'll see tiny, underdeveloped legs under the flesh. Another example is if you look in the mirror, you'll see these little membranes in the corner of your eye. Humans have a vestigial eyelid that may have been used millions of years ago in some previous ancestor that we had. A lot of organisms have had 2 eyelids, especially those that are adapted to the desert that helps to protect the eyes. Here's another video of different vestigial organs. They talk a lot about your wisdom teeth and your tailbone, which actually runs down through there. A friend of mine went ziplining one time and it actually broke his tailbone. Your book calls these similar structures. I call them homologous structures. Homologous structures are structures that are very similar in structure, but have different functions currently. They directly indicate a common ancestor. So somewhere along the line, all of these things, human, cat, whale, and bat, are all mammals. Here you have the long arm up here called your humerus. Hence, when you hit the back of it, it's called your funny bone. You have the radius and ulna, which are the 2 parts in your lower arm. You have the carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges, which are your finger. The cat, very closely related to us, mammal, has fur, gives birth to live young. Look at how similar the bone structure is here, other than the toenails being different. You know, when we go to the whale, very large mammal that has evolved to swim. The flipper actually covers over the bones that were the fingers, but you still have the 2 radius and ulna in the same place, and you have a very short humerus. If you look at a bat's wing, the structure is remarkably similar. In fact, underneath the ends of the wing, it looks very much like the fingers of our human. This is called embryology, and it's a more modern biological evidence. Scientists are starting to study how embryos develop, because when things are embryos, they look a lot the same. If you start here, this is a fish embryo, that's a salamander. There's virtually no difference. As you go closer and closer, even the man, we as humans, while you are in utero, which means in your mother's uterus, have gills for a period of time. We also have a tail for a period of time, just like all of these others. The more similar they get over time, the more similar they are, the more closely related and the more common ancestors they share. On this, you have, this is a fish and a salamander. They are the 2 closest related on here. As you get further and further away, a rabbit and a man, look how similar the rabbit and the human look. Well, they're still in utero. Now, eventually they'll change significantly, but for a period of time, there's very little difference between the rabbit embryo and the human embryo. If you think about it, though, I mean, we are talking about still mammals. For anything in the mammal category, you're going to be more closely related. There's a chart in your book that talks about that, or you can use this Google chart. And then I have this website that you guys can go to that talks about different phases in human embryology, because I usually get questions about it. They talk about fertilization. Cleavage is cell division. in the development of the embryo, different types of things with that. There's the picture that I showed you just a little bit ago, right there. So if you're more interested in that, feel free to use that resource. All right, let's close this up. I'm going to kind of do this with you at home. I'm going to pause. You guys answer at home. So, is it a vestigial organ? Is it a homologous structure, or is it an example of embryology? So, you have a whale flipper, the human appendix, an unborn chicken, a bat's wing, legs on a snake, or hind legs on a whale. So take a minute right now and think about, is it vestigial, homologous, or embryology? And then I'll go ahead and we'll tell you the answers. All right, if you have to, go ahead and hit pause because we're going to go ahead and continue. All right, if you hit pause, so a whale's flipper is actually homologous to our hand. The human appendix. Did you guess? Vestigial. We don't need it anymore. Someday, it may not even be in humans anymore. It may become so reduced that it'll actually go away. The unborn chicken. Well, that should tell you that this is embryology. The bat's wing. Remember, it's similar to ours because it looks like it has fingers underneath. The bat's wing should be homologous. Legs on a snake. They're not there anymore. That's why snakes crawl on their belly, but the leg bones are underneath. That makes it vestigial. And then the hind legs on a whale, well, just like on a snake, they're also vestigial. So if you got all of those correct, you should be good to go come quiz and test time. We're just about out of time here. I want to refresh what I'm going to send you for your homework today. We're going to read 188, 194, do the Google form for section 6.3, use your notes, use your book, use your parents, whatever it takes, get a good grade on it. I would love to do quiz and tests next week. Give me your feedback. You can send it to me via Remind. You can send it via Google Classroom. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. This is my first time, and I'm proud to be doing this for you. Have a good day.